All right. What's going on, everybody? Man, we checking in here live. Hold on a second. Let me see if we got things going. We got things cracking. We got things settled and ready to go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? That's right. The midweek report is here, man. Yeah, the midweek report is here. Yeah, usually have it on Wednesday nights, man. Usually have it on Wednesday nights, but Wednesday was a fairly busy day or fairly busy evening there, as pretty much like had a quick stop of sorts and whatnot to kind of set things up for what is in store, right? Because we have, yep, March, pretty much March 1st is what the supposed news is when it comes to this scheduled bout for Gervonta Tank Davis and Lamont Roach Jr., right? So we are going to go ahead and just get things cracking. So the word is it's pretty much being put out there. March 1st, Barclays Center, Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach Jr. there for that WBA 135-pound title. Of course, Tank Davis there is the defending WBA lightweight champion, and you have Lamont Roach Jr. as the WBA 130-pound champion. Right, so you're gonna have two guys, there around the top of their games and everything like that. At least for me, I kind of like say that Tank Davis is, viewed as one of the top pound for pound fighters in the sport. And you got Lamont Roach Jr. there as top rated fighter at the 130-pound division. Yes, the 130-pound division has, multitude of fighters there. You got O'Shaquie Foster, you got Robertson Conceição, you got, Emmanuel Navarrete, you got Oscar Valdez, Navarrete and Valdez are pretty much, a couple weeks away from the rematch coming up there for the WBO title. They're 130 pounds. So 130 has pretty much been a little bit busy there in a sense. You know what I mean? But with Lamont Roach Jr. there, he had his last bout at the Entertainment and Sports Arena in Washington, D.C., headlining a pro box card there, you know what I'm saying? And with that, he was able to get a stoppage victory in that bout. And he was able to move forward there to, try to see if initially, right after that fight, they were looking to have another pro box card, with Lamont Roach Jr. defending that title. But then we all, a lot of us know about what was going down with Tank Davis, as far as like him looking for opponents there within 135 pounds, or at least that were currently campaigning at 135 pounds. Vasyl Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson. Some folks put up William Zepeda. All three of those guys that were mentioned, they couldn't get things going there as far as like getting any type of offers being accepted or deals being made or anything like that. So what ended up happening was for Tank Davis to initially look for an opponent for December. And thing was, it ended up being that they secured Lamont Roach Jr. pretty much like agreed to terms there for that fight. And the thing was, they were planning to have it December 14th in Houston. Or it looked like it was going to be December 14th in Houston. But it pretty much like got the plug pulled in reference to that. And, some folks may, have some word about, why that is or whatever. But thing about it was that even with that, happening, what you ended up getting is for this bout to be rescheduled. So, PBC, they were looking to have, what specific dates are available out there or whatnot to see, what's going down for this particular fight. And so they got something there for March 1st, and they got it for Barclays Center. And I'm, I'm cool with all that. You know what I'm saying? And because just being honest, I didn't want to have that fight between two guys that are within the DMV area to have their fight be over in Houston. Just didn't really make sense. Just didn't make sense to me having that fight being over in Houston. So I'm like, why not have it here over in the East Coast, whether it was going to be at, Verizon Center in DC or, Barclays Center, where, like I said, both venues, Tank Davis has had fights there on both of those venues. And they've had, sold out turnouts, over 5 million as far as like ticket sales when it came to Barclays Center when Tank fought Rolly, and then Verizon Center when Tank fought Hector Luis Garcia, right? So I say, why not go back over in the Barclays Center or Verizon Center? And so looks like it's going to be the Barclays Center there for this fight. Now, thing about it is that we had folks were still trying to say that they wanted to downplay the fight or whatever it is here. So it's like I don't even understand it. That they would try to downplay the fight. You feel me? Because this is a matchup between two guys that were around that same weight class. They've been fighting around that same weight class. You had Tank Davis, like I said, he was a former 130-pound champion, and he kind of like started his career at 126. And Lamont Roach Jr. there, has been at 130 for a good little while. He's been at 130 for multitude, many years, man, many years. And he had like at one point he initially challenged for the WBO 130-pound title against Jamel Herring, and then years later was able to challenge for the WBA title against Hector Luis Garcia, and was able to get the win there. But some folks were still talking about it. But you know what though, what ended up happening yesterday was I kind of like had a guy on there, man. Had my guy on there, brother Lamont Roach Jr. Let me see here, man. I'm gonna see if I could, try to get this thing queued up for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Because, this thing here, I wanted y'all to, go ahead and, listen to the champ there in this sense. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna see here if I could go ahead and pull up a snippet there, when it came to Lamont Roach Jr. talking about the critics, there as far as like, the fight that's going down. So let me see here, man. I'm gonna try to go ahead and pull it up. This is, what I posted yesterday or whatnot, and we're going to go ahead and cue this up. Let's see here how this goes, man. Some things, I gotta go ahead and get that thing rolling. All right, so here you go. You see me right there with, like I said, Lamont Roach Jr. there. No Excuse Boxing Gym there, the home gym. So let's see here if I can go ahead and run this clip. Hey, you can't say, I can't say like anything like fair use because this is my video. So you can't be tripping on it. So all right, so let's see here, man. We're gonna run it. Other thing that folks sleeping on is that and I kind of like me out in the social medias and all that type of stuff. They be saying, oh my God, all the time. Lamont Roach Jr. Oh, he's at 130 pounds and this and that and third. And I'm like, well, there's two things. Number one, they're around the same size. They're around the same size, right? And number two, it's not like he's a small, small guy. Like he's got to get down. Get to his head. So like kind of talk about that as far as like the naysayers like saying that type of stuff and everything, not knowing like I said what was the history and the images, and then also when y'all in the program.
I put it like this, man. For the naysayers, they just don't know no better. And, whenever the fight happens, come that night, they gonna figure out. I'm not a small guy, obviously. And for the weight class, Tank is a small guy. So I think we pretty fairly evenly matched, if you want to say. If you want to say. Body mass, and if people want to say so be it. If he bigger than me, then the little man gonna win. Then you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man. I really don't care too much for the people who are doubters, who talk down on the fight, because at the end of the day, I worked my way here. I did what I had to do to be considered one of the best in the world. I'm already one of the best in my division, and I think I am the best in the world in my division. And why not go up a weight class? I'm a world class fighter because I've been showing it.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. It's like,
So there you go, man. There it is. There it is. There with what's going down there with Lamont Roach Jr. Of course, he was getting his workout going there at No Excuse Boxing Gym. You feel me? So he's getting ready for this bout against Tank Davis, and like I said, I mean, they've had history there, in the amateurs, a couple of encounters there in the amateurs, and they're pretty much like I said, around the same age, close to around the same height. You know what I mean? With Tank having to reach there, at 67, with Lamont Roach there with a reach of 68. So it pretty much like almost like I wouldn't necessarily say like mirror images of each other, of course, but you can see that they kind of like competed around that same weight here since they kind of like started their professional careers. So for this is something where I kind of like see this as a showcase of skill from both fighters. As Lamont Roach Jr. mentioned, they were like the top guys there in the amateurs around their weight class. It was pretty much like number one and number two. So it's not like you have somebody like, say for example, there with Roach that doesn't have that type of background to where they fought at every style or win against every style and that type of thing. He's had that in the amateurs. He's had that in the pros. So he knows that he is ready for this upcoming bout against Tank Davis. So that's the thing that what we have is what's going down coming up. As you see, it looks like it's going to be on March 1st. There, it's coming off of what is the recent announcement, or at least the press conference there that we had earlier this week. For David Benavidez and David Morrell Jr. But the thing as far as like the actual announcement, like it ain't official. It ain't official yet. Had like a number of leaks that's been being dropped and all that type of stuff, and and some folks within the area as far as like both parties have kind of like said something to that extent, but pretty much got to wait it out until we actually see for sure that is going to happen. Because like I said, even with what was supposed to happen on December 14th, that got pulled. So with this, it's like, okay, let's see if we have it, date, venue, all that type of stuff, and just hold off with that. So, but I'm kind of leaning towards it going for that particular date, because one source that I talked to in reference to this particular fight, they kind of like told me what was going down in reference to this, and gave me a little bit more in reference to it that kind of like says, okay, they got something that's where they're scheduling to get ready to get the media stuff rolling on it. So definitely looking forward to seeing what's going down with that. Like I said, you could go ahead and check out the full interview there with Lamont Roach Jr. on the Boxing Source, currently the YouTube page. We're gonna have it on Rumble here pretty soon. Like I said, I mean, I'm slacking on Rumble as far as like getting some of these videos up there. So definitely got to pick that up so that Rumble, those that are on Rumble are able to see it, and that should get things picked up, so to speak, when it comes to getting that content on Rumble. But back to this thing here with not only the fight, but the fight card. They've had some talk as far as like who could be included on the card, right? They had some things as far as like who could be included on the card. Now, I mean, I've had some things as far as like maybe you could have another world title fight on the card. I looked at maybe having Jose Rayo Valenzuela versus Gary Antoine Russell on the card there, and that would be for the WBA world title at 140 pounds. Yes, you had Gary Antonio Russell. He had fell short there against Alberto Puello for the WBC title at 140 pounds, and the WBC had something in place where Gary Antonio Russell would have been able to get right back into the mix there for that WBC title, while Alberto Puello was going to be fighting Sandor Martin, who was the mandatory again. But at least for right now, we don't necessarily have anything in place for that fight between Alberto Puello and Sandor Martin. But like I said, another source, pretty good source, had told me when it came to Gary Antoine Russell that they're kind of like working towards having him facing Rayo Valenzuela, for that title that Valenzuela won from Isaac Cruz, who won it from Rolly Romero, and it's pretty much been changing hands over the past few fights, So I think that's going to be a very, very good fight. You also have another potential fight being there with the return of Jamal Charlo. Now, I don't know when this supposed card is trying to get up, as far as like as far as like when they're going to announce what the full card is going to be. But this talk about Jamal Charlo and Thomas Cornflake LaManna has been brought up multiple times over the past few weeks. We've had guy Jamil from YSM Sports Media talk with Thomas LaManna over in his gym about it, and he's kind of like said that hey, he's ready for that fight to take place. But on the other side, we've kind of like seen a few posts here and there from Jamal Charlo. Hadn't gotten anything direct or solidified, at least from at least his trainer there, Coach Ronnie Shields, who currently is over in Atlanta for the OTX boxing that's going to be taking place tomorrow. But when we were talking with Ronnie Shields, on this show there on War Week Radio or War Week Boxing, he hadn't necessarily said that anything is set in stone quite yet there for Jamal Charlo, at least at that particular point. But as far as like this being a matchup for him to kind of like finally get back in the ring after an extended layoff. I mean, I know he had his bout that was against Jose Benavidez, right? And then I was able to get 12 rounds in reference to that. So that was one thing for him to get that bout, which was dang. I mean, that like happened. Man, that's been a quick year. That was like a year ago. A year ago to the day that you had Jamal Charlo back in the ring against Jose Benavidez Jr. And he was able to get, a near shutout decision victory over Jose Benavidez Jr. And he's still there at 33-0. Now, that particular fight was around or above 160 pounds. So now we got to see here if Jamal Charlo is going to be facing, Cornflake LaManna at around 160 pounds, or if it's going to be a little bit above 160 pounds. That's going to be the whole thing on it, But that would be something to see if Jamal Charlo is able to have another fight here, because we got to see if we could get him active. He's still undefeated. He's still undefeated. Just lost his title pretty much outside the ring, being inactive, and all of that. And remember, he was kind of like slated to be the opponent for Canelo Alvarez on what was that, September 30th, 2023. But just had what was going on with him, so that's why you ended up having Jamal Charlo facing Canelo Alvarez there at the T-Mobile Arena last year. But Jamal Charlo was able to get back in the ring there a couple months later, and now looks like he's able to step here in the ring. Now, hey, if it isn't Cornflake Lamont, you might have an outside chance, a really, 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 really outside chance that Jamal Charlo could be in the ring in May against Canelo. I hope not, but just keep that out there. Just keep that out there, man. And then also they had like another fight that could be on there. That would be another world title bout with Iman Stanionis and Shakram Giyasov. Now that is I don't know about all that. I mean, you have Iman Stanionis. He's there signed with PBC. He's been out of the game for a good while, man. Even while being the world champion, even while being the WBA world champion, right? Last fight, well, at least he was able to get something in there against Gabriel Maestre in the Canelo versus Munguia card at T-Mobile Arena. Was able to get a unanimous decision win there. Pretty much like outboxed Maestre. Was the quicker guy there, of course, younger guy, but quicker guy. Just outboxed Maestre over the course of 12 rounds. And then we were trying to see if they could get another fight in there for Iman Stanionis. Maybe a potential unification bout with Jerome Boots Ennis. But at least at that time, didn't necessarily work out. Now, we kind of like seeing if they could rehash it. Now, there's been talk that you have Shakram Giyasov. Giyasov is under Matchroom Boxing, just like Boots Ennis is under Matchroom Boxing, right? So there has been some talk that there could potentially be some step aside money like put out there for Shakram Giyasov in order for a fight between Boots Ennis and Iman Stanionis to take place. So you have a unification bout, right? You have a unification bout between Boots Ennis and Iman Stanionis, but we'll see, because like I said, this potential fight card could be kind of like trickled out or announced here. I don't know, maybe next few weeks or so. It's going to be some time before we actually get a solid announcement on what could happen here, at least with the main event for Tank Davis and Lamont Roach Jr. And then after that, what could, be part of the undercard there. I don't know if it's just going to be just these two fighters that could be involved in the initial announcement, or if they're going to have, something where they announce, at least at the very least, a co-feature bout, because they do that. Ooh, and it's who, I pretty much like leaked out there. That would be something there, because you would have 3 fighters within the, I wouldn't necessarily say the DMV area, okay? You would have 3 fighters that are, around the general region, okay? Because I'll say this before and I'll say it again. Baltimore ain't the DMV. I'm sorry, Baltimore is not the DMV. Come on. We gotta get this straight. That, like, saying Baltimore is a DMV is like saying Annapolis is a DMV. Come on, man. Come on. Nah, we ain't doing that. I'm sorry, we ain't doing it. So you could have Tank Davis out of Baltimore. Lamont Roach Jr. here, out of DC. And Gary Antoine Russell out of DC, over there now in Capitol Heights and whatnot, all involved in the same card. And it could be there in the Barclays Center, man. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing if that's going to go down. You feel me? Because that would be a great, great card there with, what I kind of like suggested, with the 4 fights at the very least that are suggested. It just remains to be seen how that's going to, shape itself out, turn out, having this. Now, like I said before, with the Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach Jr., right? Like I said, number one, all those other opponents that were kind of like slated for Tank Davis didn't necessarily work out or have a deal made or have a deal done. So they were trying to see if they could get Tank Davis at the very least to have another fight by the end of this year. But, even with the opponent, couldn't really work it out to have it there in what they say for Houston, which, I kind of like was saying, like, you would have 2 fighters that are, generally around the same area fighting in Houston. And for some that are like, in boxing circles, know about Houston. So, we got, okay. Hold on. Shout out to King Mega here, right? Okay. All right, check this. All right. So what I mean by that is if you're going to count Baltimore as a DMV, right? That means you would have to like count like let me see. That's like you would have to count like Williamsport, Maryland. It's part of the DMV or something like that. You feel me? It's like you're gonna count like I said, like Annapolis, Maryland, as far as like the DMV. Like if you talk about like any city within Maryland, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you gonna say like someone from Easton is DMV? Nah. We pretty much like say around the Beltway is DMV. Like even I don't even count Woodbridge as part of the DMV. Come on, man. Like I don't count like Woodbridge. I don't count like Stafford. I don't even count Stafford as a DMV. If it ain't around that 495 Beltway or close to that 495 Beltway, nah, it ain't. Says King, he the king of Baltimore, and Tank is the face of boxing. Okay, hey, I don't know, man. I'll have to roll by there when I see if next time I roll by there Baltimore and see, if you just show me what's going down in Baltimore and other spots of Baltimore. You feel me? Because I'll be up there multiple times. Over the course of the year or whatnot. I've been to a couple of local boxing events there in Baltimore. Other what I would say, other cultural events in Baltimore. Some stuff that's be going down, Coppell State University or Morgan State University. I'll be out there. So I don't know, maybe it'll be something out there where I can get up to Baltimore and I don't have to wait until the summer, or at the very least there, we got the Caribbean events over there in Baltimore in the summer too. So that's usually come up there and stop by. You feel me? But yeah, man. Shout out to my guy Just Do Boxing. Of course, he has his lives there over on his YouTube channel. He just recently completed or finished his live about an hour ago or so. So shout out to Just Do Boxing there. And King Megan says Tank is the face of boxing. It ain't Canelo Alvarez, it's Gervonta Tank Davis. It says nobody really moves the needle in the sport of boxing right now like Tank Davis. So there you go with that. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to this bout between the two. Like I said, they're in Barclays Center. Man, if it's going to be at Barclays Center, listen. The last time when they had the Tank fight at Barclays Center against Rolly Romero, ooh boy, hey man, I can't even. Yeah, I don't have one, but man, I don't even have the paper out here. But I tell you this, there are a whole lot of there were a whole lot of leaves there in the building. I'll just put it like that. There were a whole lot of leaves in the building there. So you expect the same thing to happen here if they have the fight on March 1st, man. Shout out to Just Do Boxing. We just recently had his his live, and like I was saying here before, man. We had what was going down here between Tank Davis and Lamont Roach Jr. I know that Just Do Boxing had a conversation that was pulled up, in another interview there with Lamont Roach Jr. But like I was telling him, I had been out there, No Excuse boxing gym here, pretty much like yesterday or whatnot. Took the trip out there and whatnot. Let me see here if I could go ahead and pull this thing up again, man. Yeah, so just was talking with him there at No Excuse boxing gym. So let me see here. I gotta pull it for pretty much around this area or whatnot. So let me see here if I could play this here one more time.
Here we go again. On the big stage. This time we get paid for it.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. Get paid. That's what it's too. That I'm looking forward to. But that's another thing there that folks sleeping on is that and I kind of like me out in the social medias and all that type of stuff. They just, oh my God, all the time. Lamont Roach Jr. Oh, he's at 130,000 and this and that and third, and I'm like, well, there's two things. Number one, they're around the same size. I'm getting that. They're around the same size. Right? And number two, it's not like he's a small, small guy. Like he's got to get down. To get to his set. So like kind of talk about that as far as like the naysayers like saying that type of stuff and everything, not knowing like I said what was the history and images, and then also when y'all in the program.
I put it like this, man. For the naysayers, they just don't know no better. Whenever the fight happens, come that night, they gonna figure out. I'm not a small guy, obviously. And for the weight class, Tank is a small guy. So I think we pretty fairly evenly matched, if you want to say. If you want to say body mass, and if people want to say so be it. If he's bigger than me, then the little man gonna win that night. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man. I really don't care too much for the people who are doubters, who talk down on the fight, because at the end of the day, I worked my way in. I did what I had to do to be considered one of the best in the world. I'm already one of the best in my division, and I think I am the best in the world in my division. And why not go up a weight class? I'm a world class fighter because I've been shown it.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. It's like,
I mean, and there you go, man. There's like part of the whole thing there with Lamont Roach Jr. is part of that interview. There, like I said, it's currently on the YouTube channel. I got to work on getting it on Rumble so that those that are on Rumble are able to view it there. Supreme says, "I bet you did ask Lamont if he has a girlfriend and questions about his love life." Hey man, look. When I'm in the gyms and all that type of stuff, man, I just talk about what's going down when it comes to potential fight happening or what they doing in the gym, and just talk boxing. I don't talk about anything outside of boxing, number one, and then number two, right? I don't like bring up like stuff as far as like quote unquote fantasy fights or whatever it is, or something that kind of like is retreaded over and over again, and we know that like a fight is not happening or it's not anywhere close to happening or something like that. So I don't really try to entertain that there when it comes to those things. So there you're able to go ahead and check that interview out. I have posted up also Jordan Roach. There, of course, part of that gym there is young brother of Lamont Roach Jr. Lamont Roach Sr., of course, the head trainer there and the leader of No Excuse Promotions. And you have Ben Johnson, of course, they had a couple of fights here this year. At the Entertainment and Sports Arena with his pro debut, and also at Roachcroft Raceway. You know what I mean? So there's definitely that. We got like a resident hater that's in the building here on YouTube right now. So that's the thing about it, man. He said, dude thought it was like Change of Heart. When like the game was on Change of Heart or something like that. I don't know what be going on with all that, man. But yeah, and I got I got a few more interviews to post up there from being at No Excuse Boxing Gym out there, where I had like a few amateur fighters that were training out there at No Excuse. At least for that day, they got a lot of things coming up there in the joint, man. My guy Maurice Jones here in the building. What's going on with you, man? Let me see here, man. Okay. He had like a couple of initial issues there with commenting on the YouTube chat there, but we got things going on. You could hit the support for the Boxosaurus here by hitting the like button, hit the share button. You can also do that on on Rumble. No, I do not. This has been going on for some time now. Supreme. All right, so some of y'all pretty much had just got on as far as like this particular channel. Okay, I'm gonna just go through my beginnings of getting into the boxing game. First, I was just covering through an independent sports entity there called the Cold Hard Truth on Sports, and I was writing articles on the Cold Hard Truth on Sports, and also doing podcasts there through that particular network. That would be on Blog Talk Radio. And then in 2015, pretty much was suggested that I go ahead and branch out and start my own like actual boxing, division or boxing section and stuff like that. So, what ended up happening is that, I pretty much got started around May of 2015, and we pretty much like got the name put together as the Boxing Source. So that's the thing about it. And start off the podcast on Blog Talk Radio in May of 2015, and been doing weekly podcasts ever since May 2015. And yes, there's been multiple times over that, folks have pretty much thought that I would, I was working with the Boxing Voice. No, I don't. I do not. Ness is Ness, and JR is JR. That's pretty much like how that goes, man. Brother, my guy Maurice Jones here from Four Corners Boxing. Y'all can go ahead and check out that channel, Four Corners Boxing. 15 rounds. They were Four Corners Boxing. Usually have their live podcast on Wednesday nights. They're on their YouTube channel as well. But yeah, that's the thing about it. Supreme is that we're completely separate, and that's that. And yeah, I just don't be on that often, number one, and I don't try to have like 2 or 3 hour episodes and stuff like that. I try not to do that either. So that's the thing that works out with that. But yeah, since you got more folks on here, just wanted to rehash what's potentially going down. Like I said, Tank Davis, Lamont Roach Jr. Pretty much the buzz is that it would be around March 1st. And it's looking like it could be Barclays Center. That's why I had the whole thing with the banner and having the Barclays Center picture there in the background and all that type of stuff. That's number one. Number two, you had other potential fights that are pretty much been a buzz in reference to this particular card. Co-feature bout could be Raul Valenzuela versus Gary Antoine Russell. As far as like I was mentioning before, close source with Gary Antoine Russell. Some folks that know me know how close that particular source could be. Said that his next fight would be against Raul Valenzuela. So I'm just looking at that. You know what I mean? And also you could have Jamal Charlo versus Thomas Cornflake Lamana. That particular fight has been talked about, is maybe happening for about 2 months now. So maybe they could have it secured to be part of this card. You know what I mean? And also had one other one that could be on the card: Iman Stanionis versus Shakram Giasov. That would have been a mandatory defense of the WBA welterweight title for Iman Stanionis. But I did mention that there were reports out there that Giasov could be paid step-aside money so that Iman Stanionis could be fighting Jerome Butsinis in 2025. So we'll see that, man. Real quick, man. It says, boxing needs more unbiased voices like Just Do Boxing, less clout chasing and clickbait. Yeah, man, that's what I call the guru of boxing talk. He looks a little bit like Guru, of course, from Gangstar, man. I had to say it. But yeah, that's my guy there, Just Do Boxing, man. Yeah, see that, man. It says, see you on the live one day. Yeah, I don't know, man, because me, I'll be out there sometimes, out there in the ring, man. Usually with what I do is like either through media, regular media, be on the media table, or photography. I'll be in a designated area for photography and that type of stuff. But in past few events, particularly like Pro Box, like for example, Pro Box TV, the one they had where Lamont Roach Jr. defended this WBA title against Figure McCrory, and the Prospect show that was by No Excuse Promotions, Lamont Roach Sr. I was there ringside, doing photography. So y'all could go back on Pro Box TV and go to where those fights are, and you'll be able to see me there, ringside for that. So that's the thing is, I do as much as I possibly can to cover these events, whatever it is, whether it's Las Vegas or not Los Angeles there, but the Punch Bowl over there in California. So to be from there, the Barclays Center, to Atlanta State Farm Arena in Atlanta, AT&T Stadium, or like I said, Entertainment and Sports Arena, or Rosecroft Raceway. It doesn't have to be like a national event. It could be a local event too. I'm there. I'm there. So that's the thing about it. It's all about boxing, and getting the sport to a higher level. You feel me? So that's what I do here when I cover the sport. So you're gonna have those events like I said last year with a Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, or of course this year what we had almost a week ago with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Yeah, we're gonna have those events, but also we have local events. We have amateur fights, amateur meets as well that you go ahead and support. Feel me? So that's what I try to do here with the Boxing Source, and post articles on the boxingsource.net, have the channels here and other things like that. So that's kind of like how I get down as far as like the sport goes, right? All right, cool. So yeah, that I'm seeing it here with the like I said, Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach. I mean, it's like I said, it's pretty much a done deal. We pretty much like had these conversations with Lamont Roach Jr. Here the other day. You have conversations with his father and trainer there, Lamont Roach Sr. So that's also on the YouTube channel there currently. So they're getting themselves prepared, and of course gonna have Tank Davis definitely prepared for this bout. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. How they kind of like were able to come up there. What is it, back in like 2010 or something like that? Yeah, that would be something there. You would have these fighters that have kind of like competed in the amateur ranks back there within like 2010 or 2011. Like I said, their last bout in the amateurs was in 2011. So that would be kind of like something there that we could look forward and seeing in this, pro bout that's coming up. And, like I said in the interview, I mean, y'all were able to compete there a couple of times as the amateurs, but now you're able to compete here in the pros and definitely get paid some good money there for this fight to take place. So I'm definitely happy about that. You feel me? Just like I said, man, if y'all can hit the like button, whether you're on Rumble, on YouTube. We're also we're also on Twitch there. We got the Twitch thing going on with this too here. So y'all can go ahead and hit the share button. You can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, you know what I mean? And you also have the boxingsource.net. So you can go on the website there. We usually have fighting and photos. I gotta catch up because there's a number of photos that I haven't posted yet from some of the events that I went to, because from the last weekend of fights that I went to, that took a lot out of me. So definitely had to rest up and get myself back in the gear for me to kind of post regularly as far as the website is concerned. All right. So that was that, and now we got next up. Earlier this week, we had a press conference there for light heavyweight bout. David Benavidez versus David Morrell Jr. It's going to be on February 1st. And that is a fight that I've been looking forward to for some time, probably around a year and a half. For those that kind of follow the super middleweight division, you had the whole thing there with David Benavidez being the former WBC super middleweight champion, didn't necessarily lose the belt in the ring, right? But still was able to be undefeated there at the super middleweight division. Had been pursuing a fight there with Canelo Alvarez since 2022. Didn't necessarily get it in 2022. Didn't get it in 2023. And what did he do in 2023? He faced Caleb Plant, another one of those fights that was well anticipated there within the super middleweight division, because if it wasn't Canelo that was able to walk in there and get these super middleweight titles, the top fight at super middleweight was going to be David Benavidez and Caleb Plant, and so they were able to have their fight there last year, and he won by unanimous decision. Then went up against Demetrius Andrade, who didn't get any kind of love there within 160 and 168 pounds. So he ended up having this fight with David Benavidez, and Benavidez got that stoppage victory. You had, Demetrius Andrade, he was doing a little boxing there against David Benavidez in the early rounds, but you pretty much saw a guy that was basically a middleweight going up against a light heavyweight and once that fight night took place, man. So that's how you had David Benavidez get a stoppage win in that one. And then, you had the whole thing with Canelo once again with David Benavidez. And, once it was known that Canelo was going to be facing Edgar, as some of my guys say, Hamburger Lengo or whatever it is, then, Benavidez just moved on, because he said, hey, I'll, go ahead and be at, 175 or 168 after his fight against Alexander Gvozdyk. But, once it was clear that Canelo was not going to be facing David Benavidez, he just said, hey, man, I'm just going to stay at 175. And so now he's looking at good fights at 175, and this is one of them that has been well anticipated since David Morrell was around 3-0. They were talking about this fight when David Morrell's 3-0, and his coach, Coach Ronnie Shields, said, hey, let me just work on David Morrell here for a little bit, and then we'll revisit it, a few more fights down the line. So when David Morrell was about 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, they were seeing if they could try to get that done, but didn't necessarily do that. But now, after both fighters have had fights at the light heavyweight division, of course, with Benavidez going up against Alexander Kovacic and David Morrell Jr. going up against Hot Rod Roger J. Kovacic, now we got ourselves a fight at light heavyweight. Big Supreme says Morrell is going to shock everybody. Hey, man. Man. This is going to be interesting. I will say this is going to be interesting. Going off of, the press conference or whatnot, well, first of all, as far as like the fight itself, at least, that's like one of the easiest fights that could have been made ever. Because you got a manager on one side, that's Luis the Cubas Sr., and you got a manager on the other side, that's Luis the Cubas Jr. So, I mean, come on, man. It can't get any easier than that, right? Can't get any easier than that to make a fight. But you got David Morrell. Like I said, Benavidez, right, in the super middleweight division, had the height, the reach, the activity that overwhelmed fighters at super middleweight. And now he had that fight against Kovacic at light heavyweight. And of course, Kovacic was a former world champion there, but only had that lone loss to Artur Beterbiev there, where he ended up getting stopped. But after that, he had like a 4-year layoff of sorts before he was able to get back active in the ring. And so he had one fight that was at T-Mobile Arena on that Canelo card, and it was like way down on that Canelo Charlo card, and he was able to get an early stoppage. But then they said to get him back in the ring here against David Benavidez, and both of those guys had like little skills here and there. Hold on a second. Hold on. And so David Benavidez, in that fight against Alexander Kovacic, you've seen his offense where he's been very active with his hands, but you also seen him kind of like work on his defense a little bit. Like, we know how he is as far as like foot movement is concerned, but as far as like his hand and guard and trying to catch and shoot, that's what he was working on there with Alexander Kovacic. Now, David Morrell Jr. is a whole different fighter than that. Okay. David Morrell Jr., of course, we know about what happened in this fight against Ayush Basanuli, man. They should have stopped that fight earlier than that. And then you had what was going on with Yamaguchi Falcao on the Tank versus Ryan Garcia card last year, where it's supposed to be Sinak Beko, but he ended up getting scrapped out of that fight. Still ended up fighting Sinak Beko later that year. Watched both of them. It didn't even have much of a thing there with that. But then you had the fight here with Kovacic, and Kovacic. The thing with Kovacic is, I feel like Kovacic is underrated fighter. I was able to see him at least live earlier this year against Sullivan Barrera, part of that Pro Box card in Plant City, where he pretty much like outboxed and beat up Sullivan Barrera, and then pretty much knocked him out of the ring there to finish off the fight. And that the thing with him, he's pretty much around the same height, at least a little bit taller there than David Morrell. So David Morrell had to deal with a couple of things here and there with Kovacic, but I don't feel like he's gonna have those type of issues there with David Benavidez. Benavidez's activity when it comes to offense opens up counterpunching for David Morrell Jr. Multiple chances to counterpunch David Benavidez there. And this is something where David Morrell has been waiting for this fight since it had been initially suggested. Okay. And he's like a guy that is, well, they say he's listed at 6'1", but around that, the face-offs and everything like that, they're around the same height. But they say that David Morrell has a longer reach than David Benavidez. Now, if that ends up being visible early in this fight, David Benavidez, I gotta see, how he's gonna be able to properly adjust. He's not a guy that would be, so to speak, light on his feet, of course. He is a guy that, yeah, he does come down to 175 pounds. I know that he's had, a storied past as far as like getting down significantly from a certain weight down to 168. Now we got to see if he's able to kind of like, be around what I would say around 190 pounds or so, before, fully starting camp, which, kind of like will be going on here within the next couple of weeks. And, then he'll see if he could get to that 175 weight limit here for David Morrell Jr. But Morrell Jr. has been, like I said, he's been waiting for this fight for a long time. And how, like I said, I talk with, his head coach there, Coach Ronnie Shields. And, Coach Ronnie has been saying, oh, man, he's definitely been waiting for this fight. He's kind of doing everything, possible in order to get himself ready for David Benavidez. And, he does work with, Jamal Charlo. At the very least, you got Jamal Charlo there in the camp. You got, who is it? Vito Milnicki Jr. there in the camp with Coach Ronnie. You got, what is it? Oh, you got like a multitude of like 154-pound fighters out there at Coach Ronnie Shields' camp, So as far as like guys like around at his size, as far as like David Morrell, like he gets that work. And then as far as like guys that could, be there right in front of him, Coach Ronnie has those guys. Guys that'll like, shows different defensive looks. Coach Ronnie has those guys. Whether it's going to be around that 168 or 160 or 154, Coach Ronnie has those guys. So, like I said, man, David Morrell Jr., he's definitely ready for this fight. And Supreme, I got Morrell. I got Morrell winning this. If you look at the thing with David Benavidez, right, is that he's fought boxers, but he's fought guys that didn't necessarily have pop behind their punch or that much pop behind their punch like that to really affect him. I feel like David Morrell has that type of punch that can really affect him. Benavidez facing, like I said, Caleb Plant, who, kind of like moves around the ring a lot, can sit on his punches at times, but he has to be, at his range or whatever it is in order to do that. And, in comparison to like a Caleb Plant, where Caleb Plant was pretty much around that same height, has the same height and reach as David Benavidez. Here, David Morrell is, like I said, could be around the same height, but a longer reach. That could be a real key factor here, in this bout. That's number one. But like outside of that, like David Benavidez fought like what, Ronald Ellis or Kyron Davis. It may be like those guys that could kind of like give you different looks and could box a little bit. But outside of that, a good number of those opponents that David Benavidez has had are pretty much guys that'll be right there, in front of them. Don't necessarily give them lateral movement, move around the sides or move back, back and forward. You know what I mean? So there's the thing about it. Yeah, Benavidez has fought a bunch of smaller dudes. I mentioned it, initially here with this matchup. It was like David Benavidez at 168 had a lot of those advantages against the good majority of those fighters within a 168-pound division. Now he's going up to 175, where you'll have a little bit more fighters that are around his size, around his height, and have power. So now here against David Morrell Jr., who is just around the same, like I said, same age range, same height, longer reach. Both of them. Like I said, you got Benavidez there at 27 years old. Osvaldo Morrell is 26. And I'm telling you, the amount of confidence that David Morrell Jr. has right now for this fight is through the roof. You know what I mean? Hopefully, I'll be able to catch up with Coach Ronnie Shields next Tuesday as he gets back from Atlanta, because he has his fighter Andreas Kasarakis that's going to be facing Brandon Adams in the finals of that OTX 154-pound tournament tomorrow. So it's a big fight to watch out for. So y'all be able to check out OTX tomorrow for that particular fight. Supreme says, hey, Andrade is a guy that had been at super welterweight. Kyron Davis around that super welterweight middleweight range. Caleb Plant being at 160 coming up. David Lemieux who was around 154 and was a world champion at 160 before getting beat up by Gennady Golovkin. David Morrell is a guy that's at 175. He won the U Golds at 175. Yeah, like his like amateur background, man. Like they got, or at least on the rec, they got him listed at 48-5. You know what I'm saying? Cuban national champion in 2017. I'm telling you, man, he's what he had like a World Series of boxing. He won that. He was a 2016 national champion runner-up there, going up against Julio Cesar La Cruz, and they got La Cruz's record at 100, like over 200 amateur fights. I'm telling you, this guy here, man, he's been in the mix there in the amateur rankings, man. You got Adam stopping Katsourakis. Ooh. It's gonna be something. It's gonna be something. I mean, Katsourakis is a pretty good fighter, but does have a lot of instances where he does get caught with some shots there. You've seen it there in his semifinal bout. That was a close fight. That semifinals that Katsourakis had was a very close fight there. So Brandon Adams, of course, is very, very experienced in that front. But we got to see how Katsourakis is gonna be able to deal with that, man. That reminds me, I gotta make the picks. Oh, and also, real quick on the OTX, right? You're gonna have Leek Montgomery on there fighting Sakaria Lucas. You're gonna have the IBF and IBO super welterweight titles on the line there in women's division with O'Shea Jones versus Femke Hermans there. I think O'Shea Jones is going to get that win, get those two belts. And, we're definitely going to see what happens there in that super welterweight division, man. We got she could possibly be rated as the top fighter there at 154. I mean, you got Cecilia Breaku's back in the mix there, but I'd like to see if O'Shea Jones gets through this and gets a win. Hopefully, you know what? I was gonna say something, but I'm gonna hold off on that comment. Just forget about that whole thing that I was about to say. Just forget it. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Now, man, what the heck is going on here, man? Oh, okay. But yeah, that's what's going down. OTX boxing coming up on Friday. There really isn't that much activity, going on Saturday or whatnot. And the other thing that I'm like looking ahead to is in December with Oscar Valdez and Emmanuel Navarrete having a rematch there over in Arizona, and also he's supposed to have Mauricio Ramirez and Rafael Espinoza with a rematch as well. in one of those fight of the year candidates. I think it was like fight of the year or upset of the year. I think I had it at the very least upset of the year. Because you had Espinosa get knocked down, and then he came back and he was able to take the fight. You know what I'm saying? Abdukakarov. Yeah, that was a good scrap there between Katsarakis and Abdukakarov. Man, like I said, he's been involved in good bouts now. Remember, Kutuchio was a fighter there that was competing at 147 and was at least listed as a top contender at 147 before he lost to Cody Crowley, right? And after that, he had another fight there at 147 and lost that, and then kind of like ballooned up in weight. And so he's kind of like got himself down, back in weight. And that fight against Katsarakis, man, that was a really, really good scrap and a close one, real close one. And then for Katsarakis, going up against Robert Terry in the semifinals, that one was like a split decision. But I don't know, man. Them judges, man, they had completely different scores there, for that particular bout. You feel me? And it says like Brandon Adams is naturally left-handed but fights orthodox. Says he will stop Katsarakis with the left hook. Maybe I should send a text out there to Coach Ronnie Shields and say Forrest got to watch for the left hook from Brandon Adams. Of course, you had Brandon Adams as a former middleweight world title contender there in 2019, and now he's kind of like competing now at 154 pounds. That had a win over Sergey Bohachuk there, who was able to kind of like get a win. What was it, against Brian Mendoza? And then after that fight, Virgil Ortiz Jr. in a really close fight. Some people thought that maybe Bohachuk could have pulled that fight off, but didn't necessarily happen that way. But now, back on the thing here with Brandon Adams, he was able to get a stoppage win in the first bout of the tournament in April, and then was back at it here in August against Francisco Varane. Got a decision win in that one. Now going up against Katsarakis here for that final in the finals. They're in the 154-pound tournament, but that's another one here. I think he says Cat gets hit too much. Yeah, he gets hit too much, man. He does get hit too much. But we got to see here, man. I don't know. It's gonna be a really, really tough battle here for Katsarakis. I got the experience of Brandon Adams being a huge factor here in this fight. I got to see how Coach Ronnie Shields is going to be able to give proper adjustments there for Katsarakis. And the thing with Katz is one thing for him to like be in the ring and fighting, but he's also like a guy that watches fights in pure detail. Like if y'all were able to watch the previous fights that happened there with Katsarakis, like he'll kind of like point out what went on, what happened, details, specific details on why he kind of like slipped up in a couple rounds here, a couple rounds there. So I mean, he's a good like analytical type of fighter. It's just that is he going to be able to put it all together here against Brandon Adams? We got to see there. So like I said, OTX boxing coming up on the zone there. With that Brandon Adams versus Andreas Katsarakis. There's the finals of the 154-pound tournament. All right, so you got that. Like I said, ain't really that much action outside of that, as far as I know. Just looking forward to what is it, December? We got like I said, the rematch. There are the two rematches there for Top Rank that's in Arizona, and of course the rematch of rematches, so to speak, in the heavyweight division. Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Luke Fury. there for the top spot of the heavyweight division. So definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, it says Adams there is super underrated. Yeah, I mean, he's super underrated. If he gets through this 154-pound tournament, I want to see if he gets somewhere back in the mix there as a contender in the 154-pound division. We've seen how many fighters are there within 154. Man, let's see if I can like run down those guys. Sebastian Fundora, Terrence Crawford. You have, let's say, Sergey Borchuk, Brian Mendoza. That was able to compete there in the super welterweight division. You got Israel Madrimov. You got Bakram Murtazaliev that beat the brakes off of Tim Tszyu, man. I'm sorry, man. He beat the man up, dog. He beat him up. You got Xander Zayas there that's very young there, 22 years old, still it is rising there in the 154-pound division. You got Jesus Ramos that's going to be part of that card February 1st against former unified champion Jason Rosario. You got Charles Conwell that's undefeated there, but we got to see if they can put him in a position to have a good fight. You know what? I say go ahead and have Charles Conwell face Virgil Ortiz Jr. Like, both of them are under Golden Boy, right? Like, why not go ahead and have that? I know that there's been some talk about Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Jerome Butsinis. Nah. They're trying to have, Virgil Ortiz fighting on February 22nd. That ain't going to be much of a turnaround there for Butsinis. He just got off of, having a 12-round bout a couple of weeks ago. And so you're saying that he's going to have that 12-round bout and then turn right around and then get back in camp for a fight that's, at 154 that fast? And for whatever money that they could potentially have for that, just wait it out. They could meet later on, and it'll be a much bigger fight. I don't see why they should have it right now when they could have it later on and get more money later on down the line. It says a back Murtazaliev, hey man, props to you, because I thought that Tim Tszyu would be able to do it, but man, I don't know. Maybe that fight against Sebastian Fundora really took more out of him than advertised. Because remember, Tim Tszyu was willing to face Virgil Ortiz Jr. on August 3rd on that fight card that was over in Los Angeles, right? But he didn't get cleared for that, so they had to wait it out. Is what it is. It says Ramos stops Rosario in 4 rounds. So yeah, I mean, you had Jason Rosario against Jared Hurd on the Pro Box. Ended up being a draw. Pretty good scrap between Jason Rosario and Jared Hurd. That was as I say, I don't know if it was quite like a loser leaves town match, but it kind of had that type of feeling, with both of those guys being former unified champions at 154 and kind of like, being on the downside in their past few fights. So when they matched up against each other, I was like, yo, this is make a break for both of them. Make a break for both of them. But it ended up being a draw. So now, you got a guy, Samson Lukowicz, of Samson Boxing, that was able to have, one of his guys here in Jason Rosario going up against Jesus Ramos. And of course, his, as I say, his main guy there, David Benavidez, going up against David Morrell. Man, that's good. Man, dang, man. He could have, man, if he has both of those guys losing on that card, oh, man, dang. That would be, dang, that would suck for him, man. That would suck for him. But yeah, you said Jesus Ramos stops Rosario in 4 rounds. Yeah, man. I don't know where Rosario was at this particular point. They said that this particular bout is going to be in the middleweight division. It's going to have a middleweight limit, not a super welterweight limit. So both of these fighters will be above 154 pounds for this particular fight. Yeah, we do have Jesus Ramos still within those rankings there at 154, but for this particular fight, they're gonna have it, where both fighters could kind of like be a few pounds over 154 for that bout. But but that's gonna be a good card, at least a pretty good card overall. Brandon Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton. They're in a rematch for the WBC featherweight title this time. They're not going to be a super bantamweight. They've had fights in the featherweight division. And now this one rematch for the WBC featherweight title. That's going to be something there too. And then Isaac Cruz, of course, a fan favorite for many, coming off of his close loss to Raul Valenzuela, now going up against Angel Fierro. Their schedule. So, Fierro had been, he lost a fight in Manatee, Puerto Rico or something like that. Or he was on that Subaru Matias card where Matias lost to Liam Prep. Oh man, yeah. And he got outboxed. He got clearly outboxed in that one. And I don't know, man. It's almost looking like a feature fight there. Hey, what's going on there, Raina, man? Shout out to you, man. You've been supporting these channels out here, man. Glad to see you here on the Boxing Source here real fast. Just going through, that card coming up February 1st in Las Vegas. You know what? That reminds me of something. I got to check something in reference to some rooms out there in Las Vegas for at least that. Because I feel like I want to go to that fight card. I want to go to that fight card, So I'll look into that. But that's part of the whole thing for PBC that's gonna start being laid out there for their schedule for 2025. They kind of like had things cool down here for the end of 2024. And say, you know what, we're just going to revamp Aaron 2025 and have these good events coming up in 2025. A couple of pay-per-views here, of course, February 1st and March 1st. We may have some other fight cards scheduled that won't be pay-per-view. Maybe something like, say, I don't know, February 15th or something like that, or March 15th. You better not have something on March 15th. That's about a couple of days after my birthday, man. I don't know if they man, I need to make some phone calls. So they're going to try to get a card there on March 15th. They need to let me know ASAP. No, I'm just playing. But they're looking to kind of like have their plan scheduled to get their fighters to be in the ring, be active, and have these fight cards for fight fans to enjoy. So we got to see how it sorts itself out. But that's mainly here what I had as far as like that goes. Because like I said, you really don't have like some major action there, in boxing, at least here for the near future, right? But outside of that, I'll probably kind of like get a little bit more active as far as like doing lives here, over these next few days. We're gonna have more interviews that are scheduled here that'll be posted on the Rumble and YouTube pages for y'all to enjoy. So just be on the lookout for that, because I kind of been on the back burner as far as like posting content up. But now I'm gonna start ramping up with that when it comes to the channels and also the website, theboxingsource.net. So y'all be on the lookout for that there as well. Tomorrow, I may go live tomorrow, but only on Rumble, because what I want to do could likely only work on Rumble. Definitely couldn't work on YouTube, but it could likely work on Rumble. So I'm gonna see if I could go ahead and do it on Rumble. And then once that happens, then I'll have the live scheduled for tomorrow evening there. So y'all be on the lookout for that, because I want to go back to a fight that happened last weekend that is a little bit of controversy. And the results of that fight may have created something much bigger later on down the line. Because I've seen a couple of posts that say, hey, maybe we have a revisit of this fight and it's going to be back as a main event. So y'all pretty much have an idea of what that fight is. And so I'm going to see if I can revisit it on Rumble, and we're going to see if we can go round by round on that particular fight and score it, and then see, how it turned out and if someone got robbed. So that tells you everything you need to know as far as like what I was looking forward to or planning on doing tomorrow. So that's kind of like the tennis schedule here. Tomorrow, be back on live on Rumble. And then after that, Sunday, scheduled to be on at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time with the Boxing Source podcast. So y'all tune in for that. But that's all I got on this end. Big thanks for everyone that's listening live. If you can, hit the like button, hit the share button. I don't know if like these Rumble Rants, they got Rumble Rants. I don't know if I got that thing set up here for that. To kind of like sponsor the show, Cash App, the Boxing Source. But that's all I got. Continue to follow, continue to share. We appreciate the support here on the Boxing Source. And that's it for me for today. I'm out. Peace.